Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel. My name is Mike. I'm continuing my 2013 NFL season previews and off-season recaps. This video is for the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are coming off a 7-9 season in 2012. That was the first year for head coach Joe Philbin, as well as the rookie year for quarterback Ryan Tannehill. So I think all things considered, a 7-9 record was a pretty good start for the Joe Philbin era. I thought he did a good job of sort of clearing out the roster, getting players he wanted, getting the team to have the mindset and the mentality he wanted. And then you saw the front office sort of build on that this offseason by making several acquisitions. First on the offensive side of the ball, obviously the highly publicized signing of free agent wide receiver Mike Wallace. They signed him to a $60 million contract, $30 million of that guaranteed. Thinking that maybe Tannehill didn't have the weapons, the down the field weapons that he needed to truly evolve. So they get maybe the best speedster and the best deep route runner in football, arguably, in Mike Wallace to fill that role. They also filled holes at tight end with Anthony Fasano leaving. Dustin Keller replaces him. They get him on the cheap because he's coming off of an injury last season. Also on the offensive side of the ball, I think I'll get to this later when I go over my 3 question marks for the Dolphins, but a big one for the Dolphins was Jake Long leaving via free agency, then moving Jonathan Martin to the left tackle and signing Tyson Clabo to play right tackle. I thought that was as the offseason progressed, I think in a perfect world, the Dolphins would have liked to sign Jake Long at their price, but nonetheless, he goes to greener pastures, perhaps, in St. Louis, and now you're left with an offensive line a little bit in a state of flux. On the defensive side of the ball, some of the moves that the Dolphins made, they signed linebackers Donnell Ellerbe and, of course, Philip Wheeler as well. You're looking at those two, and Ellerbe and Wheeler, replacing Carlos Dansby and Kevin Burnett. So did they get better? I'm not sure yet, but I know they got younger. And when you have guys like Dansby and Burnett, that were the 2 leading tacklers on the team last year, you got to give them some respect in that, from that point of view, and not say, oh, Ellerbe, Wheeler, they're definitely going to be better than those guys. We'll see as time sort of plays on here. They're definitely younger, definitely have the potential. We'll see how that pans out. And, a big signing I thought in the secondary that could pay off big for the Dolphins is they got Brent Grimes on the cheap. Brent Grimes, the cornerback formerly of the Atlanta Falcons, coming off an ACL injury last year. He was a top-flight cornerback before he got hurt last year. He signed one of those one-year, prove me contracts or whatever you want to call it. And if he can be solid, okay, and then they're able to move Richard Marshall into the slot and start rookie Jamar Taylor at the other corner, I think you'll see the back end of that Dolphins defense get better, an area where they really struggled last year. They struggled at the linebacker position in pass coverage, which I think they feel will get better now with younger legs there. They're hoping to be better in the secondary with all the acquisitions they made. And look, this is a team that had a solid defensive line. Other than the drafting of Deion Jordan, who they traded up to number 3 to get as a pass rusher to go opposite Cameron Wake, not many moves made on that defensive line, but that was the strong suit, I believe, of their defense. And look, a line led by Solalai, Randy Starks, Jared Odrick, and of course Cameron Wake. We'll see how Deion Jordan fits in there. Is Deion Jordan more of a pass rushing specialist early on? Did they just throw him into the fire? I tend to err on the pass rushing specialist side, but we'll see how that sort of unfolds here. So that's sort of an offseason recap for the Dolphins as they head into 2013. 3 big question marks for the Dolphins as I see them in basically in order of importance from least to most as far as question marks go. The first question mark I have is how does that secondary evolve? Okay, does Brent Grimes come back healthy? Is he healthy from week 1, and can he be the Brent Grimes that he was in Atlanta the year before last? Because if he can be that, then I think of the real interesting part of their secondary is what happens at the other cornerback spot. Sean Smith obviously is in Kansas City now, so is it going to be Richard Marshall? Is it going to be Jamar Taylor? I think in a perfect scenario, Jamar Taylor shows enough where he can be that outside guy. You bump Richard Marshall inside, and now I think you've added through the draft a little bit of depth of quality players there. But I think that's the number three question mark. How does the secondary evolve? The second question mark I have is it's sort of a combination one. It's how the offensive line was sort of put together this offseason in conjunction with the running back position. Someone I haven't mentioned yet was Reggie Bush. And although Reggie Bush has probably not met the expectations of being a second pick overall when he came out in the draft, he was a solid running back for them. You have two guys now, Lamar Miller, and Daniel Thomas, now coming and having to step to the forefront and be the guys. Can they do that? And I think that sort of coincides with the fact that Jake Long leaves. They moved Jonathan Martin to left tackle, who was a little bit shaky there last year when he had to play there. They signed Tyson Clabo to play right tackle. And how does this offensive line mesh? And in turn, how can the running game help Ryan Tannehill? How can they set up the play action pass to hit Mike Wallace deep? Things like that. I think that's the number two question mark. How do Lamar Miller and Daniel Thomas adjust to an increased role? And, of course, how does that offensive line mesh? The number one question mark for the Dolphins heading into this season is a pretty obvious one. How does Ryan Tannehill, develop in his second season? This is a guy who showed glimpses last year, but let's remember he only threw 12 touchdowns last season. Okay, looked good at times, looked like a rookie quarterback at times, to be expected. These guys, RG3, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, these guys aren't the norm. Okay, it's not the norm for guys to come out in their rookie year and put up the numbers and the production and the overall maturity at the position this early on. So, no one's by any means giving up on Tannehill, but how does he develop this year? Does he become a guy who can become more accurate? Does he make better decisions with pressure on him? Is he able to maybe win one of those shootout games where they have to pass the ball a lot? If he doesn't have a good running game, is he able to function? That's a big deal with a young quarterback. You saw it with Mark Sanchez, who I don't think has the raw ability of Tannehill. But when he had a running game and a good offensive line around him, he was a competent quarterback for the first 2 years. He wasn't like he was the last 2 years. You see how quickly his demise came. And, I worry about the same thing potentially happening with Tannehill. But again, I think his raw athletic ability and arm strength, I think he'll evolve, but maybe not as fast as the organization maybe is hoping for him to, being that they made all these free agent signings around him. But I think this will be another year of growth for Ryan Tannehill. Thus, I think it's going to be another year of growth for the Dolphins. If I don't think they're going to have a good running game, and I don't think that Ryan Tannehill is going to grow leaps and bounds, I obviously can't expect too much out of the team, if that makes any sense. I expect between 8 or 9 wins for the Dolphins on the ceiling, and maybe as low as 7 wins if some things don't break their way. So you're looking at low end 7, high end 9. I don't look at the Dolphins as a playoff team this year. I know many people do, but how many times does the team that's getting the offseason hype actually live up to it? Not many, not much, especially when they have a young quarterback who's still growing, who I like, but I don't think they're ready to make that next step to a playoff team just yet. Guys, let me know what you think of my assessment of the Dolphins and their season preview. Hit me up in the YouTube comments. Hit me up on Twitter at SNewsAnalysis. Guys, I know I've been on a little bit of a hiatus here during the summer months as the NFL sort of slowed down, but I'll be picking it up from now throughout the whole season. I'm going to preview all 32 teams, so be sure to check it out. Thanks as always for listening, guys, and thanks for listening when I was away, too. I was amazed by the response I got when I stopped posting videos. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, and have a great night.